geopolitics threatens to destroy the world Davos made. World Economic Forum delegates fear that a long period of peace and economic integration could be coming to a close. And one of the biggest contributors to why this is happening is because of the World Economic Forum. Because, while I agree we need something like the internet to make international commerce and trade a lot easier for everyone to do. But I am not a fan of a one world government, of a one worldwide global policy for anything. That's just asking for trouble. Like the way things are now, there's over 200 countries in the world? That's how it should be. They're not all equal. Some are way better than others. Some overall, some in specific areas, whatever. But point is, if you don't like your home country, chances are there's other countries in the world you could immigrate to that you'll like it there better. That would not be the case if we were forced to live under one world government. If you don't like it, too bad. There's nowhere else to go. And I just love how all these morons have they resort to the excuse like, oh, well, so what, RGE? Are you saying we shouldn't do anything about these fascist dictatorships that abuse their populations? People that live in those abusive countries have somewhere to run to now. They wouldn't have anywhere to go if we lived under one world government and that one world government became abusive and fascist and totalitarian. You're just screwed. This is the typical thing that ends up sinking a lot of idiots. Like when the Democrats removed the filibuster for judicial nominees, and then Orange Man put in three people into the Supreme Court. Remember that? Without even having to care about the Democrats because they can't filibuster anymore. By the same token, that people that support censorship then cry when the systems they put in place are used to censor them. It's the same thing here. You let these people have their one world government. They're going to sell it to you because, they're benevolent. They have your best interests at heart. And even if it's true, is it still going to be true 200 years from now? You never know. All right, the Magic Mountain, Thomas Mann's classic novel set in Davos against the backdrop of daily disease and impending world war was published almost a century ago. But as World Economic Forum delegates gather in Davos this year, Mann's world feels uncomfortably close to our own. The fear haunting the World Economic Forum is that a long period of peace, prosperity, and global economic integration could be coming to a close just as it did in 1914. This year's Davos slogan is cooperation in a fragmented world. That fragmentation began with Coronachain, with its lockdowns, closed borders, and disrupted supply chains. Yeah, so you had some governments that went full Nazi and other governments that didn't. So in current year, World Economic Forum, the first to take place in its regular winter location since the pandemic began, would be seen as signaling a return to normalcy. However, China's sudden abandonment of its zero quarantine policy has raised fears of a new wave of variants could emerge. Why would it, though? I thought the virus had nothing to do with China. That's racist and xenophobic for you to even imply. So why would China's policies affect it worldwide? And even if a fresh pandemic phase is avoided, quarantine has left its mark on the way governments and businesses think about globalization. The assumption that goods and commodities can always be shipped easier around the world has been shattered. Yeah, that's been shattered for me a long time ago because I know how much international shipping is. Our businesses have moved from just-in-time supply chain strategies to just-in-case. Further global health emergencies are possible. Other scenarios, once deemed remote eventualities, are in sharper focus. Extreme weather events are becoming more frequent, which raises questions about food security and travel. Cyber attacks by states or criminals. I mean, why the redundancy here? Threaten the infrastructure on which modern economy relies. Well, then clearly it needs to be fixed. And now, to be fair, the only reason we haven't completely collapsed yet is because while everything was locked down, businesses had enough in stock to keep running. But that stock is almost out. So often prompted by governments, businesses are having to change their ways. Prompted by governments. Yeah. You mean forced under the threat of violence? Yeah. It's not wise to rely on complex supply chains vulnerable to disease, war, or other emergencies. Companies such as Apple, which boasted of products designed in California, assembled in China, are having to diversify production. Apple increasingly also produces in India and Vietnam. Wow, it's almost as if it's a bad idea to have all your eggs in one basket, huh? No, efforts by some Western companies to lessen their dependence on China was prompted by the pandemic, but have since accelerated because of a heightened awareness of geopolitical risk, otherwise known as war. Yeah, but what do you do when your own government is the problem? Do you do everything possible to move your business out of the country? No, Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year demonstrated that the unthinkable can happen. Europe's biggest war since 1945 is being fought less than 1,000 miles from the luxurious hotels in Davos. And this is why so many people get caught off guard. It was the same thing when Greece's economy collapsed. Nobody thought it could happen because it hasn't happened in so long. And then when it happens, everyone's just running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Like, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know. It's your problem. With the conflict in Ukraine still raging, the risk of escalation remains high. Nuclear war is the most frightening potential development and one that has concerned the White House since the outbreak of fighting last February. If it is a risk, it would probably be instigated by this White House. Because really, nobody wants to be the guy to launch the first nuke and trigger mutually assured destruction. So even if the use of nuclear weapons is avoided, the danger of widening conflict remains as NATO sends advanced weaponry to Ukraine and Iran supplies Russia with military drones. Oh, it's funny. Why does Iran have some advanced drone technology? That's weird, isn't it? Like when you think drones, you don't think Iran. You guys remember that story from a few years ago? How a super top secret U.S. drone ended up having a malfunction and landed itself in Iran? They were able to hack into it, get information out of it, reverse engineer it. I wonder if that's why Iran's drone program is so advanced now that is apparently even better than Russia's, huh? I wonder. So the conflict has shown how war can sever economic ties on which globalism was built. The EU is drastically reducing imports of Russian energy, fueling inflation in Europe and threatening to make some industries uncompetitive. Russia and Ukraine are also important suppliers of grain to world markets. This war has increased food prices and threatened to push millions of people into hunger. Whose fault is that, is what you should be asking. Politicians and industrialists are scanning the horizon for the next big geopolitical threat. Many have focused on Taiwan, which produces 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. The Chinese invasion of Taiwan might shut down TSMC, the most important semiconductor producer, with devastating results for the world economy. No, it's not going to shut it down. So China knows about this. They're probably going to avoid causing any damage. It's just you're going to have to buy it from China instead of Taiwan. That's all. Because China, you think China wouldn't want all that money? Even geopolitical tensions that stopped well short of war have disrupted international commerce. The increasingly wary U.S. attitude to China has led the Brand administration to sharply restrict exports of sensitive technology there. This affects not just the U.S. companies, but also foreign technology giants such as South Korea's Samsung that use U.S. tech. Oh, man. Maybe they'll have to stop using U.S. tech. Political leaders, particularly in the West, must worry, too, about domestic pressures from populists. Many of the latter have made the World Economic Forum a symbol of inequality and ruthless international capitalism. I wouldn't call them capitalist, but okay. In recent years, Davos has attracted the ire of anti-jabbers, climate change skeptics, religious zealots, and hardline nationalists. The forum features a wide range of conspiracy theories. Oh, by conspiracy theory, you mean you take what they've said and play it back? On the wilder internet fringes, the World Economic Forum has been accused of using the pandemic to seize control of the world economy. Well, that's pretty easy to see. So just do an analysis of the world economy before and after the pandemic and who controls what. That'll tell you exactly what happened. Such theories aside, the idea that Davos is faintly toxic has gained ground. Puppet Brandon, determined to present himself as fighting for ordinary working Americans, unlikely to risk appearance at Davos, unlike Orange Man, who enjoyed rubbing shoulders with the assembled CEOs. Yeah, Orange Man was definitely in with that group. Even centrist and conservative leaders in Europe may be cautious about coming. Oh, they do that a lot. That's why they keep getting in trouble. President Emmanuel Macron of France, a defender of globalization, who has spoken at Davos in the past, has a sensitive domestic pension reform to push through. So may decide that now is not the time the right time to attend. As a new British Prime Minister, one with financial background, Rishi Sunak would normally be expected to seize the opportunity to woo the world's most powerful chief executives. But Airstrip 1 faces a wave of strikes, so he too will probably decide it would be wise to miss Davos this year. I mean, fuck, aren't even Soros and Klaus Schwab missing it too? Those world leaders who are present might do well to take the funicular up to the Schatzap Hotel, which served as man's model for the sanatorium in the Magic Mountain. The hotel's view is the best of Davos. It may offer a chance for a quiet reflection on how to prevent war and natural disaster from once again engulfing the global economy. Well, one way to avoid this is to cut it out with globalization. We have the internet. It allows us to shop around and buy things from any country in the world and get it shipped to us as long as we're willing to pay the exorbitant fees. That's more than enough. We don't need the entire economy to be centrally managed. As long as they keep pushing for that, we'll keep fighting against it.